Hello everyone, welcome back again to NPTEL online certification course on research methodology for planning and architectural studies. So in this particular lecture today we'll be discussing a very important and a serious we can say discussion on the issue of similarity versus plagiarism. Nowadays maybe you heard about those kind of word plagiarism, that okay, the papers are plagiarized and then it is retracted from the journal, and there are issues, there are cases, there are certain so much of consequences to get into this plagiarism thing. So there are doubts definitely that okay, if I write something, definitely there will be some kind of common words which are very commonly used word in that English, or maybe everything, all the words that we use, they are in the dictionary. So is it something plagiarism? Or maybe I just wanted to quote something that I liked from a paper, and I want to put in my paper as well as it is it plagiarism? So there are so many questions around us, and then probably we need some clarity on it. Taking that kind of aspect, today this particular presentation I'll try to focus on the difference between similarity and plagiarism, different types of plagiarism, and then how to avoid it. And there are some useful tools available, the software is available by which you can always check those kind of similarity and try to understand that okay, is there anything very serious and come under the plagiarism or not. In our previous lecture we have discussed about the ethical value, the ethics in data base management and use. So on the similar line, this is another aspect, but as researcher we must know it, and accordingly we should act it. So with that, let us focus on our lecture number 30, titled Similarity versus Plagiarism. Okay, so in this particular presentation what we are going to learn, we'll try to understand what is plagiarism, then the common types of plagiarism, reasons for plagiarism. So this is also very important, why people get involved into this. So we have to understand the consequences, something definitely we should understand, so that we never think about doing such kind of error. Then the similarity that we also discuss, then you have this kind of the difference between plagiarism and similarity, that also we want to understand, and the software as well. Now first let us start with what is similarity. Okay, so if we search it in Google, just type this similarity, the first answer it will give in dictionary meaning that this is the state of being like somebody or something but not exactly the same. If it is exactly the same, then that is definitely in that case it's called same. But similar means it look like similar. Suppose something is written in active voice, I make it passive voice, but the overall statement will remain same, or the overall throwing up of this particular statement, they are pretty similar. So this is similarity. Now in contrast, what is plagiarism? So in this case again I have taken the very first Google search and the dictionary definition of that. This is the act of copying another person's idea or the words or the work and pretending that they are your own. The moment I write a statement and if it is not mine and I don't quote that who has given that statement, so that is one act of plagiarism. Something that has been copied in this way, like it can be directly a copy pasting thing, or it can be just I copy pasted and I change certain synonyms to look like that it is different. So those are things are act of plagiarism, and which is really very serious, and it is against the academic integrity. So we should not get into those kind of situation. So plagiarism is, this is the Wikipedia definition, that plagiarism is the representation of another author's language, thought process, ideas, expression as ones of your own original work. So somebody has done that work and I claim it is mine without acknowledging, or we are we are doing nothing out of that particular research, and I just take some unpublished research, or maybe I can just gather it from different sources and I claim that okay, this is mine. So this is again a problem. In educational context, there are differing definitions of plagiarism depending on the institution. Plagiarism is considered like a violation of academic integrity and a data breach of journalistic ethics. So both the ethics and then the integrity, they will be questions if you get into this kind of situation where you have some information which are not your own contribution, but you are representing it as if it is your own without giving the credit to the person who has contributed to that particular statement. Now we'll discuss the common types of plagiarism. The first type is called mosaic or patchwork plagiarism. So in many cases what happened, the work of someone else simply paraphrased without proper citation. That I have taken one particular sentence from some literature, and in that case if I just make some paraphrasing, I just change certain synonyms, etc. It is often difficult to detect because the plagiarized material is interwoven, means there is some word in between. So suppose this is a long sentence, so I cut this particular portion and I use my own word, and then remaining is same, then I also insert my own word, and like that I just make a new statement. So this is something tough to detect but manually, but obviously the software can detect it. I will come to that towards the end of this. In this particular case, that as because it is interwoven with the different sources, that okay, a statement, the 50% is taken from source 1 and 50% source 2, and in between I just put my statement. So then it is difficult to identify, including the writer's own ideas and perspective. The writer may try to change up the sentence structure or use synonyms to make it seems original. So that is some kind of mistakes, and probably it can be easily caught through those kind of software, the similarity detection tools that are available. That is something can catch. And most of the institutions, they do have this kind of software available where they check all this research content like the thesis and all. And for the journals, wherever you submit good quality journals, they do have their own similarity check software, and if they will find it okay, this is something like similar, and then also like it is not being cited, it is something like a act of plagiarism, so then there will be very bad consequences, withdrawing of the paper, backlisting of the author. So those kind of things are really unwanted situation that one can face. However, taking the idea of another piece of paper is still plagiarism. It's not that is line by line. Even if you can steal one idea and you don't give credit to that idea which was given by someone else, it's still an act of plagiarism. Even if the words are switched up bit and intermingled with your own work, or maybe you can say you add certain thoughts to that original content that was created by someone else. Next one is called the paraphrasing plagiarism. In this case, paraphrasing or incremental plagiarism is the most common type. It's similar to the mosaic style, but the difference is that the copied work is not mixed with new concept and research. So for mosaic, it is something that in between I put the new ideas, new thought process, different perspective. Here it is just the similar content, I am just changing the word here and there. That's the called paraphrasing. In mosaic or patch work thing is that where we also include some new thoughts. The researcher who would like to involve into that kind of practice can include those kind of own thoughts into it. When you paraphrase the original idea in your own words, the borrowed material stay the same throughout. So that means if you think that okay, I have changed the whole write up, okay, which I copied from this particular paper, in that case also it's not right, process, or at the same times it will not change anything in terms of the paraphrasing plagiarism. So still, if it is being borrowed and then after paraphrasing also the content is plagiarized. So this is another common type. Complete plagiarism. So in this case it is something you can also say it's similar to like line by line ditto. So it's a control C and control V and you just claim it is yours. So complete plagiarism is more common in academic writing than content marketing or other types of online writing. So in this is something, you just copy paste the thing. Suppose, if it, even if it is not like a journal or something, but you give one assignment to your student, and in that case you find that okay, they just download something from somewhere and then submit. So if you have the software you can easily check, and sometimes it is like almost 100% similar, and then there is no mention about the source. So it's a 100% case of complete plagiarism. This type of plagiarism occurs when someone tries to submit an entire research paper as their own without proper attribution and citation. For example, this involves copying and pasting of original work in exact word that the original paper they have mentioned. The only thing that is changed is the author's name. So I just change the cover page in that way, and then I can give the entire thesis which has been done by someone else. So in such cases, if you are doing this kind of activity, so this is a act of complete plagiarism. Now this is interesting, that self plagiarism, this is also known as auto plagiarism. So self plagiarism happens when you copy your own writing, whether intentional or not. So many a time, suppose you are conducting your research and then you published 2-3 papers, fine. So for your next paper you will find that okay, the other 2 papers, the introduction part was written very nicely and the context is pretty similar. So let us take some of the word of my own paper, because I am not copying from anyone else. But that is also act of self plagiarism, which is equally punishable, and also it is equally threatening like other plagiarism. So it is not desirable that you take your own write up and you publish again and again in different journals. In such cases, definitely you have to contextualize your content and then you have to write the content. See, the same write up, definitely if the context, overall concept is to solve certain kind of, say for example, urban mobility issues. We all know the issues like congestion, increase in vehicles, pollution. So these are very common keywords. But that doesn't mean that if I give these keywords and I ask all my student or maybe all of you to write a 50 word or maybe 100 word write up about the issues of urban transportation. If you do it honestly, there is a very low chances that the write up will be ditto same. Probably it is almost negligible and it is almost 0%. But if I say even the overall concept on throwing and pattern, there will be similarity, but that is also different, like the logical sequencing of the sentences, then the follow up discussion will be different. So that's why, like whenever, even if you have published the paper, good, but you should not take those content to your next paper. That is also coming under self plagiarism. Often the person in self plagiarism incident is summarizing or repurposing their own work instead of writing a whole new piece of write up from the scratch of the same topic. That's why I'm saying that I say that okay, my overall purpose of doing this research to solve the urban mobility problem, so can I take it from my published paper? The answer is no, simply you cannot take. You have to write okay from the scratch. Many people think self plagiarism is harmless because you are not copying or stealing from somebody else, but this is the type of plagiarism can be just as damaging as other plagiarism. So better to not get into this kind of self plagiarism activity. Accidental plagiarism, what exactly it is? Plagiarism does not always happen on purpose, that my intention is not to copy and then publish. It's still considered plagiarism when someone copies another's writing without citing their source. Say for example, to make this particular presentation, I have referred certain kind of online content, okay, the website and the blogs. So I have given those kind of references. I am not saying that these words are mine, okay. So in such cases, for researcher, you also need to give that kind of attribute, because in such cases you will be very much transparent to the scientific community and you give value to it. Wherever it is your interpretation, wherever you are giving new idea, please do that, but simply you don't claim that the content is yours. We should not claim it. Just because the omission or incorrect citation was accidental does not mean plagiarism has not been committed. So many a times what happens that we give improper citation to the source, that we write a statement and then all of a sudden we realize that we have to give a citation, and I can pick up anything which is available without knowing that whether that statement where I have inserted the citation is from that paper or that content. So that's why it is also misleading, that the paper that you want to cite, which is talking about say the urban congestion, and then probably you in a hurry or in accidental you cite a paper which is talking about some kind of urban flood, because maybe it is something like the author names are similar, or maybe there is some kind of in hurry that you have committed that mistake. So that's why, like, even somebody would like to see that okay, this paper is talking about urban flood, not the urban traffic congestion. So that is also now accidentally that particular phrase is not cited properly. So that is also act of accidental plagiarism. This is why it is important to check any work, and when doubt give your source credit. So this is something very important. Source based plagiarism, what exactly? This type of plagiarism refers to instances where it is misleading the sources that are involved. For example, the writer may have sources of information, but only the reference one. So one particular statement that I just write, and then this is something that I have understood or gathered from multiple sources, but I just give one citation. Maybe in that case a statement which accounts for the heavy congestion, and then I add a statement that there is a huge growth in the vehicular traffic. So the congestion related paper is different, and the heavy traffic or the rise in the vehicular population is different. So we have to give both, because maybe the paper that I am just saying about in a qualitative way, the congestion and its impact on the daily life, may be from some other paper, but the rise in the vehicular number is from some government report where they are giving the registered vehicle number. So we have to give both the citation, otherwise then it is a half story and it is 50% not cited. So that is also act of source based plagiarism. Another form of source based plagiarism would be when an author quotes a non-existent or incorrect source, that source is not available, or maybe that is sometimes it was there but now it is not exist in current time. So that's why before communicating, before finalizing, we should check each and every source that you are giving is correct. We have to give that much of time to our research writing, because this is the thing that which will portray what we are doing, right? We can do a excellent work, but if we fail to communicate in a proper manner, if we fail to write the paper without proper citation, so then probably it will be another disaster. You can say that this is not the intent of doing the research. The worst type of this kind of source based plagiarism, when sources are fabricated. This is another trait. As because you don't have source, you create a source and then you cite that source. So this is, sometimes some, there are some kind of reports which also talks about that actually the source is fabricated. That is also dangerous. Making up information like study finding or statistics is extremely misleading, so that is not right thing to do. Direct or verbatim plagiarism is same as the copy pasting. So it is something like you can just simply go for direct plagiarism, then it is intentional and unethical of stealing the content. As the name suggests, it is the word by word copy pasted into a new page. The author then tries to pass off the content as their own and claim it. Some authors they are trying where there is some kind of unpublished work. So when it is unpublished, that means there is assumption that okay, there will be no such kind of software which can match the unpublished content. But maybe tomorrow that unpublished work is published in somewhere. So with that particular thing, it will be a challenging aspect, and that is not ethically right. The words are directly copied without any text, citation, and credit to the original source. Now, possible reason for this activity. So, in the paper by Mio and Talha, so there in 2019 that in that paper they have mentioned some of the reasons. One thing is the poor time management. Say for example, like you have certain deadline to submit your assignment, to submit your thesis, submit your dissertation. So if you fail to manage the time effectively and the last stage you have to give some content to your supervisor or to your department, then this kind of activity will be prominent. So you will try to get the information which are readily available and put it, and as because it is not your content, so there will be some sort of plagiarism involved into it. Poor knowledge or ability to write the assignment or research paper. So if say you are very good at doing the research, conducting the survey, interpreting this, but you are not very confident to write the sentences. In such cases, you find that some papers overall the introduction section is similar to your paper or the context is similar, you just take that portion because simply you find that that particular text are very well written. So that will lead to some sort of issues with the plagiarism where your ability to write is questions. So for that, to avoid it, definitely there is no other shortcut by doing the practice. So you have to practice more writing the content, check it, get it checked by your friends, your colleagues, your supervisor, your faculty members, and then get the feedback, and slowly you will understand how to write it. For that you have to devote time, you have to also be patient about that kind of improvement. Many a times we have those kind of issues to write the paper because maybe I'm very good at English writing, but maybe I'm not that good in technical writing. So that are the common feeling of researcher that feel that okay, I'm not really very good at technical writing. So in those cases, this will lead to some of the plagiarism activity. Problems of writing in a second language. So this is another issue that many a times we are not that much comfortable with that kind of language. So maybe I am very comfortable to communicate orally with my mother tongue, but whenever I have to write in English or any other language that are required, maybe I am not very comfortable. So for that we try to see it. Poor knowledge of what constitutes plagiarism or academic integrity. So many a times maybe we don't know that what is right, what is wrong, that can I copy it my own work or can I take it like this and all. So for that definitely you should understand it. There are enough content available in digital media. There are possibly certain kind of mandates and rule and regulations in your institution, or maybe through this particular lecture as well. Now probably you will get that particular clue that what is plagiarism, what is similarity, and then what you don't need to do and what you should not do, right? The other thing is that poor citation skill, you don't know how to cite. That's why I'm saying that in source based citation, or source based plagiarism, that where you cite something but that is not appropriate citation, you cite something else where the content is taken from some other sources. Poor guidance, that is something that you don't have any clue that what to do, right? So for such kind of cases, like when you are clueless and you need to do something, you have to submit the assignment, then you do that kind of mistake. Sometimes it overemphasis on promotions. This is something, like suppose there are certain kind of mandate in case of something like, in order to get this particular promotion, get this particular degree, you need so many papers and you have to do it, and then it's all relate to some the time constraint, that within the limited time I have to do so many things, and then maybe we can just mistakes. In such kind of situation we commit the mistakes to take some content from external sources, so that is also not right. Now this is very interesting slide and very threatening to all the researcher. The consequences of plagiarism, what could be the consequences? First of all, there will be some sort of academic penalty that may occur, that the degree is revoked, the degree is taken back. If the student, if you are a student and all, then you may be expelled from that particular program, and there is something definitely that is some kind of very worst scenario that you can imagine as a researcher. Then if somebody involves into this activity, that also stunted the creativity. So definitely whenever there is a practice that okay, I can take it from here, I can take it from here, so we'll stop thinking that particular creativity that we require, that okay, what should be the write up, how can I write it in a better way, then okay, I write for the first time, can I just make certain improvement. So if you are getting into that practice of taking from other sources or using some other AI based tools nowadays, which is very common to write up, for the write up or creating the content for your research paper, then definitely that will be shattered, or that will stop the ability to freely think on the new thing. Effectively it will create a poor content where there will be mistakes, because you may copy the thing from different sources and they are not coming into sequence. That will be the problem. If you are in profession, so maybe that will lead to a career damage, so that the profession from that particular job, one can be fired, suspended, etc. This is definitely impact the reputation, the impact that reputation of that particular researcher, the author, or maybe the institution. So it is overall like some kind of defaming that particular institution by that particular act. Then other authority penalties, that maybe because of that your papers which you published, that will be retracted, so this is again a shameful result. Then you may lose your audience and followers. If somebody know about that particular person or student actually committed plagiarism, and then it's the situation that they will consider you as something like is not a good researcher, or it is something deters the audience. And in some cases, if it is something the stealing of some kind of idea, some kind of intellectual property, and then you claim it, so if proved right, so that may also lead to some kind of potential legal and criminal action. So these all things are not really the desired outcome of any research. So as researcher we should be fair enough, we should follow the ethics and academic integrity, and don't get ourselves into those kind of activity which can lead to the plagiarism and all, so that we should not face such kind of nightmares. So in such cases, like, the way out, how to avoid it, simply you have to practice, you have to interpret your result, write at your own. Whenever you get some kind of information that you want to use to compare your results, you can still use it, but give proper citation, the actual citation, the original source of that particular content. That way you can avoid this kind of act of plagiarism. Now coming to the comparison of this similarity versus plagiarism. So this is again another paper by Menom, 2020. So in this case, similarity is the context of overlap and match between author's work compared to the other existing sources like book, website, etc. It's just the matching of the word. Still it is not plagiarized. It will be an act of plagiarism if the intentional or unintentional, like it is covered or maybe accidental theft of published or unpublished intellectual property without citation. If you say that you just like a particular quote of any authors, you can still use it. You can use it in a style that is recommended many a times, like we put it in the double inverted comma and make it italics to just keep it as it is, or else a statement that is actually the extract of any earlier research, you have to give proper citation. Then it is maybe the act of similarity but not the plagiarized item. Similarity becomes plagiarism when original source is not duly acknowledged. So that means if you write something and you give a source which is not existing, or you can manipulate the source, in all such cases, the way we discussed our entire presentation today, the different types of plagiarism, this will be only considered as plagiarism when you are not giving that source or attribute. If you provide it adequately, then in that case it might be a case of similarity but not plagiarized. But try to also interpret at your own language whenever it is your own argument and statement. Wherever it is someone else's argument, please give the proper credit to the actual contributor of that statement. Now coming to the similarity detection software, again here, like, these are few limited and commonly used software, like Turnitin is very common. Then you have Authenticate. Grammarly is also like normally for the grammar check, but it has also some options to check the similarity. Plagiarism checker, you may have Drillbit, Unicheck, plagiarism detector. So in all those kind of cases, they are not going to detect the plagiarism, because see, it will only detect that these all act as a some kind of text matching algorithm. So it will match your text, whatever you are submitting in this software, with the existing source which are available in some sort of database. So it will not tell you that whether it is plagiarized or whether it is not. So it is something that the citation, if it is properly cited, then that is something that, okay, this is not act of plagiarism but it is similarity. But too much similarity is also not correct. Say for example, if you take my word like this, so I write 100 sentences and I have given 100 references. So that means where is your content? You are giving some kind of content which is available. So that's why many a times when you write review paper, where mostly you discuss the work that have been done before or past literature, so there you will get all those arguments. But for your own findings and all, most of the write-up will be your own content. Maybe at the introduction, maybe at the literature review, or in the method selection, there might be some citation, but normally your work will be your own. But in that case, it's not the text. If you can also copy the image, if you copy some graph, you just manipulate graph to a table or table to a graph without proper attribute and citation and credit. So this is equivalent to an act of plagiarism. Now this is something in the Turnitin, when you submit a paper, this will give you such kind of report where this will give you some sort of similarity index. So 30 6% in this instance the text are copied from some sources. It is also giving you some distribution, normally internet sources 17% out of publication, and then 33% is student paper. If you add all of them, it will not match the 36 because there are overlaps. But along with that, you can find that out of this 18% is from a single paper. That is another concern, that mainly, if you write something and 80%, 18%, 20% is from single source, then definitely that is a serious issue. You may have certain sources like less than 1%, 1%. So these are similar. Again, I'm saying that these are not like so far proved to be like, this act of plagiarism. Now, whenever you will find this kind of similarity and you can find that, okay, this is something from the source number 4 that submitted to some Foothill College, it is a student paper and there is no citation mentioned. So in this case you have to give citation of that particular student, okay, who have submitted this. So for this also it's the same. So in the entire write up you don't find any citation. So then this is a case of plagiarism. But suppose if that particular person added all those citation and try to make those statement and interpret those and write at their own language wherever it is possible and give the citation. So then probably even if it is something the index like similarity index is there, but still it is something not the case of plagiarism. But whenever there is more similarity, that is also not acceptable. So Turnitin by default they are giving some sort of range. So 1 up to 24, so it is giving green, yellow, orange and red as similarity percentage, and in this case like some cases you may get also 100%. Say in this particular case it is ditto copy of the same document, line by line it's same, then only it will come as 100%. Now the next question is that very common question, what percentage is allowable but up to what percent similarity is acceptable. So when you say the question is how much plagiarism is acceptable, the answer is 0%. You should not have even single 1% of the plagiarized item. But so far the similarity is concerned, as I already mentioned, that maybe the write up there are certain common segment that maybe in a paper it is normally written that table 4 demonstrate or table 5 summarize the analysis from the survey data. So this is a very common sentence, it may come in multiple sources. So in such cases this is common statement, and for that normally those kind of 10% or depending on the institute to institute 10%, 20%, this kind of similarity is still considered because there it assumes that these are very common sentences available. But in that also, like if you have the content which is like say continuously after say 5, 6, 10 words are continuously same with the previous content, because it will show you like this all the available content. So you have to give the citation or you need to change the sentence, you have to write at your own language that sentences. So like that you can avoid. So you have to be very much careful that whenever you start writing at your own, most commonly you will not come up with a high similarity. But when you get influenced with certain other write up and you are getting fascinated that content is written very well, then you may come up with a high percentage of similarity, and that may also lead to the plagiarism is not properly cited. Even nowadays the another threat is that application of AI generated text, that you give certain content, it paraphrase and it modify and then prove. But there are other and like you can say that detection. So detection on the AI generated content is also available. So there you will find that whichever the content is generated through AI. So don't get yourself into that situation and get embarrassed in front of your supervisor, faculty or your authority or your department better you start practicing writing at your own. Definitely, after certain time you will be able to write a good content, because as a researcher that is actually one of the basic need to write your research. So with that, let us conclude this particular discussion. I know that there are certain kind of information and some of consequences are really threatening, and I wish that none of you will get into that kind of trouble. Be honest. Whenever you write something or you take some information, try to give the proper source, check it once twice, and unless you are satisfied that the cited document are absolutely okay, they are not fake documents, or maybe it is relevant to the content where you are citing. So with that, definitely you can practice a good research writing, and then you don't need to think much on the plagiarism and then the consequences of it. So this is the overall summary, that here we understood what is plagiarism, what is similarity, the difference between that. So the similarity will become plagiarism when it is not properly cited. So that is the catch. Then we have consequences of plagiarism, which are academic reputation down, then even getting suspended from the job and profession, etc. So reasons for plagiarism, then common types, etc. And whenever, even if you are taking a photograph, whenever you are taking some content, you should give the proper citation where from you have taken. So for this also, wherever I have taken certain images and the content, I try to give the source where from I have picked up. So with that we end here, and then we'll move to our next lecture, which is on processing of data and database management. So this is something, once already you know that you have the data available, and then how to manage it. Before you do the analysis, you need to understand, you have to prepare the database. If it is like a raw data that you collected, so tabulation and other thing, understanding the data, and if you understand it well, then you can only select the appropriate method for the analysis. So with that, I again thank you all for joining the course. Hope this course is helping you out in your research. We'll be meeting in our next lecture. Thank you.